Today we're going to go over building web apps with Azure and kind of the application that goes into how to get a web app off the ground, maybe some back-end stuff on how to do the ARM, the resource group, that kind of stuff. So let's dive in, and we'll dive in with this first. So, before you want to start anything, you want to immediately look at a dashboard. And I think the dashboard is a great place to have all of your references, everything you want in one simple place. You can literally pull a clock into your dashboard, choose the time setting you want, because maybe you're working with a company that's not in the same time zone that you're working in. You can get your users and computers in a group, and you can customize how big these boxes are also. I'm assuming you need more people. You can get your metrics chart so you can see what's actually going on in your zone. One of the things that I really like in it, and it might be just because I'm kind of millennial, but you can do videos, and I can throw a video in there, and let's title it as motivation, and then we're going to throw in there a link for AC/DC Back in Black. And one of the best parts about this is you can set it up to autoplay whenever your dashboard starts. All right, so continuing on with the kind of stuff that we have on Azure Dashboard, we can put a whole markdown thing here. Markdown language, we can put whatever we want to have put in here. So maybe we're sharing a kind of subscription with other people and they're logging in. You can put a markdown right here, what exactly the subscription holds, what's going into this dashboard. Or it could even be reminders for yourself. It could be a calendar. It could be really whatever you want. And I think that's pretty nifty. But overall today, one of the biggest things that we're going to do is we're going to go over building a web app. So I'm going to hand the screen over to Josh, and he should be able to take us through that. Josh.
Alrighty. Should be working. So the first thing you really want to do when making any of the apps, if you know like the exact app you would like to make, you can go up here to, this is just kind of your marketplace search. For this, we're going to do WordPress. WordPress is just a website. And so if you look on the right, it'll have WordPress. You have WordPress on Linux. You have those two, or those are really the two main options you have. So today we're just going to go with just straight up WordPress. And so we're going to name this one just a test press. You can't have any spaces here, so just make sure you're aware of, you can't do anything real nice with it in all honesty, sadly. You're going to pick a subscription. So the subscription is, we'll set one of those up later, but we already have one set up and then multiple others. So we're going to pick the first one, and then our resource group, we are not going to select. We'll use the current one just to skip that step. But normally you're also going to want to have a resource group up or multiple resource groups and deploy it wherever you need. For the database, we're just going to do Azure database for MySQL so that we don't incur any costs, because it'll move as you need more storage. And if you go into any of these blocks, you see a little eye by it. It tells you everything about the options. So if you ever have like a drop down, you're going into it, you're kind of curious, what's going to happen. You can just go on that. You either have to click on it or just hover over it. It'll tell you. And then after any of that, if you know what you want to do prior to any of this, you can go into the automation options. We're not going to. We're just going to kind of make it from scratch. And so apparently test is already taken. Perfect. And once you create it, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to deploy it. So we are going to access one that we already have built. And then once you've already created it, you're going to have your notifications. Will pop up over here. It'll say it's deployed. Do you want to configure it? And so you can just click on that. It'll take you to this screen. Otherwise, you can just put in app service up here. Yours will come up first, or just put your name in there, or it'll be on your dashboard, which Franklin already showed us. And so in here has kind of your basic information. HTTP 5XX, these are just status codes. And so you don't want any 5s. You want them all to be 2 or 3, and obviously 1. And so that you're usually not going to have anything for. And then you'll see how much your website's been accessed as far as how much data has been pushed in and out. As you update it, you put plugins in, put new widgets, you'll see more data in. And response time, you'll see changed based on users, based on where they're from, things like that. Same as requests, that'll be related to that. So these three are kind of the first three things you can kind of touch on before you actually start getting set up. We're not going to deal with them because they're in a lot of these tabs over here, which we'll cover later, but they're just kind of quick buttons that you can use. But up here, you have your resource group, which you already made. You can also change it at any time. I've already changed this one multiple times. Your subscription you can change just in case, you know, say you have a credit on one subscription and not another. You can go ahead and change it to the one you have a credit and not incur any more costs. Tagging is also really beneficial for like cost optimization, because you can tag, say, this website with another website that's in another resource group. And then that way you can see what just those two websites, you know, regardless of any other resources, what costs you're incurring from them. And then you'll have your app service plan. And then this right here is interesting. The GitHub external repository. If you go to it, it's kind of like if you already know what you kind of want to do, you go down here, you hit deploy to Azure. And when you do that, you're going to be given the SKU option, which is just load balancing essentially. We'll include a link underneath the video, just kind of explaining that from MS Docs. But you'll only have to pick your subscription, pick your resource group, and then pick a name, and it'll deploy it for you fairly quickly. So you don't have to go through kind of the slower startup process of doing it from scratch. And so to find your actual website, so you can see your nice, pretty website, it'll always be in the top right. Sometimes it takes a few seconds to populate when you actually go into your resource, but once it pops up, if it ever loads, breakneck speeds. So once it loads, you'll actually see your website as anybody else will see it. You'll have this bar up here because mine auto logged in as the administrator, and so I already have, you know, an account with WordPress. It's already made, so I can see just what I already have. So you can add links down here called widgets. You can put them at the bottom depending on the theme that you pick. This is just the theme I chose. There's thousands of themes. This is the theme that I chose, and so it gives me the option of putting menus up here or widgets. And then I have widgets on the side. You can put in, you can embed YouTube videos. You can embed videos from multiple websites. You can even download the video, you know, if it's something that you don't think is going to link, download it, and then you can go ahead and upload it. But you can change all this. You can get rid of recent posts. You can make it to where it's just all posts. The metadata is important for mostly the admin because you can kind of get in your admin account that way. If you're a user, you know, you actually have an account on the website, you can also log out here and kind of see it as the absolute public sees it. And just useful links below it. And then it'll tell you your name. Your name will always be listed at the bottom of it. So I don't know if you're legally, if you really own it, but it is there.
So Josh, question, how would you go about getting, you were talking about users, how would you go about creating new users
Yes,
for your
so
website?
users, we're going to go to our dashboard, which is, so WordPress is completely different, or your app is going to be completely different than Azure. So in Azure, you know, you'll deal with things like Active Directory and users in there, and they can manage your resources and et cetera, et cetera. And then in here, you have a multitude of options. But to actually create a user, you're going to go into users. You can create an administrator. You can create a user, you can create a co-contributor, anything that you really want. But to create, all you do up the top, you have add new. And so you're always going to be the first one in there because, you know, you create an account, you got into this with the administration login. So we're going to make one for Franklin today. We're going to use a fake email. And then if say you're sending it to someone, like you're sending them an email, you can do their password for them, or just give them the password. They can use it forever, but generally they're going to want to use this kind of a first time login, and then they can change it. I always send them an email just because, you know, they kind of need it. That way you don't have to say, hey, go to this link and then do this and this. It just sends them an email, they click it, and they're good. And so you can make them an author, an editor, which these are mostly going to be posts and like comment history and things like that. They can edit any of that. If you want to have them as like a kind of a moderator. Contributor will actually be able to make posts instead of just editing things. Administrator is just this is what we see right now. You can change every single thing on the website. And so we're going to make him an admin, add new user. Doesn't take very long. It sends them the email immediately. And so you can let them know, hey, you know, at this email, I just sent you your login information, if you could get started. So very, very quick and easy. You don't need to be a user on the actual website. You don't need an account unless you create a website that specifically requires users to be logged in to actually view any content. So for this, I don't have any users or anything set up, but it's pretty straightforward over here for the top few categories. For posts, you can just go into various things. For me, I have kind of well, that's not mine. For me, I have an about me though, but you're gonna go into that. You're just gonna hit edit. And once you get in here, you're gonna have your title. So this is the button they're gonna see. And then for this, they work in a block system. And so you can create a lot of different things using the block system. Paragraph is kind of like, hey, I'm writing something out. You know, you have quotes. A lot of people like motivational quotes. I know Franklin loves them. So he was probably gonna use this quite a bit. You can put an image, just throw in an image. And then if say you throw in an image, I'm not gonna put one in actually, but you put the image right here and then you go below it. This is gonna be a separate block. So in here, you're like, oh, I wanna type. So then you can start typing and you can put everything below that image. And you can insert from your library. You can find it online. Your library is probably gonna be the easiest way because you can manage all the media inside of WordPress itself. And so we're gonna go back. And so the second tab is gonna be media. In here, you can see any of the images that you wanna include. You can put like I have my resume in here as a downloadable link. It's also as a scrollable PDF, and so you're gonna upload it right here, and you can manage everything here. I guess worst case, you can kind of use this as a backup. You know, if you didn't want something on your local machine, just go ahead and put it on WordPress. This is gonna come out of your storage space, which it's usually not gonna affect it that much. So you're pretty safe to put in any small short videos and things like that. Also kind of important to note, when you embed different videos from YouTube or anything, it doesn't take from your space. You're not actually storing it. It's just pulling a link from that website. So comments kind of comes under posts a little bit. Comments are pretty similar. Posts that you make is basically your overall message you want to convey, and then comments is just if somebody wants to add something to it, or say you want to add something to it, you're just going to use that to edit the comments that come below it or to change the settings for it. So pretty straightforward for that. But this is the pages. These are the buttons that you saw up top when we were on the actual web page. I'm actually going to open up this in another browser. So up here, these are all pages. And so we only have those two right now. And then you'll see drafts that are not going to be in there. A lot of the drafts they include personally for you. They'll have a lot of practice pages, like the home page is obviously a draft. Privacy policy, if you're really like worried about any content that's going to be on your page, you can go into it, and it's got a lot of default stuff that you can kind of use to shape to your own, you know, whatever your actual privacy policy is. But I haven't thrown that in there because I don't need it. And so under that, you have your contact form. If you have, if you want to put your contacts in any certain page in a within an image, you can throw it really anywhere on the website using. I use, I believe it's called Contact 7. And so you go in there, you edit it to what you want it to say and where you want it at. So for me, it just kind of reads a little bit like a resume. I personally don't use the contact form very much, but it is pretty useful if you are putting it in multiple places at once. And then essential add-ons is kind of like it sounds. It's not an actual, this isn't really a button, I guess you could say. This is kind of a plugin. So your plugins, as you download other plugins, they're going to show up right here. So essential add-ons is kind of an all-in-one plugin that I found. And so you can go to extensions. There's just a lot of options in here, so you can kind of play with add-ons as you get them. Plugins are kind of, there's thousands, and I like certain ones. Embed Press, I believe, is one of the ones that you can use to embed your PDF in a page. But we're gonna go to plugins next, and then we'll back up to appearance after that. So plugins, you start with a few. I believe you start with anti-spam and you start with Hello Dolly. I don't have this activated because it seemed weird, but basically it'll randomly play a lyric from Hello Dolly, or from the song Hello Dolly. And I'm not too keen on that, so I didn't include it. But you have like PDF embedder. A really important one, or a good to use one, would be open external links in a new window. There's hundreds of plugins that do this, but this is the one that I chose. Basically, when you have those links at the bottom, I have LinkedIn, I have I think I have Glassdoor, I have a couple other websites on there. But if you don't have something like open external links in a new window, then every time they click on it, they're going to lose their window. And, you know, if you bring someone to your website to see, you know, information about you or that you made or created, then you don't exactly want to send them away when they click on a link. And so anytime, we guess we can show that. So if you click on like clearance jobs, it'll bring it up in a brand new tab versus just having it in the old tab. Now, if I can get rid of it. So pretty useful, kind of keeps interest, holds interest. But that's most of the plugins. Anti-spam, I don't know, if you have a smaller website, you're not going to need it too much, but anti-spam is definitely helpful. So it does what it says. But appearance is kind of where we're going to get into a lot of meat and potatoes. Your theme kind of decides, as I said earlier, it decides where your buttons are, where your menus are, where your widgets are. You can't really change those locations because it'll give you options, and you'll see later. It'll give you options as to, hey, you know, you have footer 1, footer 2, but you might use the 2019 theme, and then it's like, oh, you have, you know, side widget, header 1, footer 1, something like that. So kind of play around with themes before you actually delve into changing, you know, links, putting all your content on there. But you can search for them, and if you go into add new up top, there are quite a few. And so you can go to the most popular, you can go into anything you want, you can search them. But I think I went with Signify Dark because it's just a darker theme, and I kind of enjoy it's better on the eyes to me. But when you go into, if it will load. So when you go into customize isn't really its own thing. It's just everything we were already doing, but it shows you a live feed of the actual website. And so if you go into site identity, you can change your site title, you can change, which is up here. You can put a logo up there. I personally don't have a logo up there, but if you really, you know, if you really wanted one, you could do that. Header media, I don't have a photo up here or anything like scrollable, a video, anything. I wanted to, but it didn't seem to mesh well with the rest of the website. I don't know if that's a theme, but that's just my take on it. And so you can go down all of these, but an important one is widgets. See, as I was saying earlier, your theme decides your widgets. And for me, I have a sidebar, and then I have down here, you have footer 1 and 2. I only have footer 1 that's active. Sorry, you have all 3, but I only have 1 that is actually active. So you can have them in different locations. So, but there's other themes, like I know Franklin's theme, his gives him, I believe he has header 1 and 2, and he has, I think, a footer. And so it's kind of, it really is dependent on your theme. So definitely pick one that kind of looks nice to your eyes. But other than that, for in here, this is pretty much all of these. You can pick what, like when someone goes to your website, if they go to your latest posts, if they just go to some random page, you know, you can have them go to your resume page or about me. You can have some other like blog that you want to have in there. So you pretty much go wherever you want, or have them go wherever you want them to go. So we're going to get out of that one. But customize is really nice because as you're making changes, you can see it. Whereas if you're in this screen, you know, you're just kind of like, well, I hope it shows up. But this is where you actually add those widgets. So these are going to be your options for placing your widgets. It'll be all on the right side, and they'll have these drop-down arrows. And so if you pick one and you're like, oh, I would like to add a calendar to this, you just drag it over, throw it in there, you title it, and then a calendar is going to pop up. Test this one real quick. So we're putting a calendar in our sidebar, saved it, and then we're going to go back to this. And ta-da, we have a calendar. And so there's other things you can do to mess with those, but that's pretty much the basics of this. The video, like I put a video on my sidebar about the MSA program, SkillBridge. And so when I did that, you would need to go here, hit add video. You can either download the video. I personally did not. You can download it from wherever you want, or you can do insert from URL, which you just go straight to YouTube or whatever website you want to go to, and then just pull it from there, and then it'll work as is. So a lot of different options for your widgets, kind of a large area. Your menus, mine personally, I have for my menu, I have that footer one, or the, I guess, yeah, footer menu. So your menus, you'll typically always have menus in the bottom, and then sometimes they'll be in the top right. So that's just something to kind of, if that's something you want to make use of, you can make a drop-down menu where it just says menu, and then they hover over it, it'll pull down, you know, 4 links. You can have it that way. Really anything you want to do with it. Your header is as it sounds. When you go to plugins, one of the important things to have in there is something that you want to, if you want to have a scrollable PDF document, like say a resume or something, just any document for record or just to show. So the easiest way, I personally put in Embed PDF Viewer, and then I ended up finding other ones that I liked more. So I had Embed Press put in there as well. But for that, you're going to use the exact same thing that you did earlier. You're just going to go to Add New, and then you are going to go to, you can do Embed or you can do PDF, and you'll find plenty of usable ones that you want to use. The widgets that are already provided are pretty good, but you can play around with it. PDF Embedder was the one that I liked. So that's pretty much it for embedding and for PDFs, and that's it for a lot of the WordPress, the actual website. So if Franklin does not have any questions, you curious about any parts of WordPress? Good.
All right. So we saw how Josh, deployed his web app through his Azure portal. Well, the fun thing about, all of Azure is you can go to your resource groups. You can see my WordPress site right here. And the best part about everything is Microsoft likes to make things automated. So you can check the automated export template. It's going to generate a template for you. It generally takes, 30 to 45 seconds. There's mine. And you get to see all of the configurations that are in your deployment. You get to see all the web app. 2,500 lines of code. We can just click download, and it's going to download into a zip file. We're going to open up the zip file, and then it's right there in our notepad. But we can do it one better than that. So we can also, let me make sure I know what that is. We're going to copy that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and share my entire screen. So I went into Notepad and I copy and pasted everything into here. So we can go ahead and save as, save it as our template for WP for WordPress. And we're going to save this type. You got to save the type as JSON. So boom, save it. You can see how it formats automatically to an ARM template. And you have all your lines of code, which I really like VS Code. You can go in and you can edit, the colors that come in through VS Code through extensions. And it really helps you out for when you're going through a lot of lines of code, trying to figure out what goes where, because if it's not turning the right color, there's something wrong with it. And instead of waiting to actually deploy everything, you can see all your stuff right there. So bringing it back to our WordPress site, if we wanted to deploy a new WordPress thing, all we would do is we'd go to create a custom deployment and boom. Or if we want to create, a custom deployment for anything, not just in our one thing, boom, we get to build our own template in the editor, and then we can load our file from VS Code right there. And I think that's super beneficial. It saves people a lot of time. We can go in, edit, certain things, and really cut down on, human error, getting the point across for certain people to do a lot of work really fast. And that's all I had for this. In the comment section below, you'll be able to find links to both Josh's and mine, our WordPress websites. You'll be able to find resources to README, which should be up. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. Oh, do you want to go over metrics real quick, Josh? Sorry.
Yeah, just a few of them.
All right.
Once you, I think I'm already sharing. Once you go into your actual your app service, kind of what we were at before when you go into your URL from here, your actual website. If you go into activity log, I haven't set anything up, but you can, okay, it's already running. You can see different extensions that are either out of date. You can see if you go to actual diagnostic settings, which ironically takes you to this, go down here or use that link up there. And in here, I haven't configured any of this. A lot of this takes a different subscription that I do not have and do not use. But you can find best practices. You can find availability. Say someone's like, hey, I can't get your website. And you're like, oh, let me look into it. And instead of you deep diving into every aspect of it, you can just go into availability and performance. So a lot of configuration can be done through here, the diagnose and solve problems. Then the other kind of important thing, two things really, access control, which is identity access management. You can see who has access to your actual, to your resource, not inside of WordPress, but your actual resource. And so I believe I created one for Franklin. So that was created as well. And then you can go into role assignments from here. As long as you've created them or made them an account in Active Directory, you can go in here and you can give them role assignments. You can do anything that you really need to in here. The last thing really is your tags. I kind of went over them earlier, but tags, you can put tags on any resources that belong to multiple groups just to track, if you're incurring any costs. If you have a VM running alongside your website, or if you have storage, you can attach that to it, give them both the same tag, and you can see, hey, like I'm really going over on this one item. So that's why tags are pretty useful. But that's really a lot that you're going to need to know for WordPress. There's a lot of options. You can run through them. But
Can I go and do monitoring real quick, Josh?
Yes. So monitoring, there's a lot. So we're going to create a new chart. What would you like to monitor?
Data out.
Data out?
CPU time, because we noticed,
Right.
it was kind of taking a while to get there.
All right, so since we started doing this, our data out has spiked a good bit. And because we're not using, top of the line website, or our subscription is not top of the line, we do not have a lot of memory to run off of. And so you can see that we spiked pretty high. And so I'm assuming that's where that long delay came from. And then once we actually got in, it was, very smooth. So that's, you can create any type of actual logging that you really want for any of this. But this is where you can see if you're having any errors. Health check is a really good one. You can also have these like texted to you if you set them up. But making sure that everything is actually running fine, because having you can have an amazing website and then nobody can access it, and it's pretty useless at that point. So that's pretty much everything that we have on the back end of WordPress for now. He already went over automation, and we went over the inside of it. And yeah, so I wish you luck in all of your WordPress ventures.
Yeah, like I was saying, all the course stuff that we went through, our websites, and a little README that could be a step-by-step is going to be involved in the comment section below. So feel free to leave us comments, tell us how you felt we did, how we can improve. Thank you.